Oh, I better put the keyboard down, haven't I? Oh, well, there we go. Hello. Sorry, I was talking to Dad on the chat. Oh, I better put the keyboard down, haven't I? Oh, well, there we go. Hello. So, I was having all sorts of feedback problems and all sorts. Then sorry about that. There we go. Never mind. I'm sorted now. That was chaos, wasn't it? I'm all right, Dad. I've got my cup of tea. What is going on here? There we go. That was chaos, wasn't it? I'm all right, Dad. I've got my cup of tea. I don't know what's happening here. Sorry. Hang on a minute. Let's close that. I get all sorts of feedback and stuff, and what's going on? I don't know what's happening here. Sorry. Let's close that. Hello? Well, what's happening there? Never mind. Never mind. I've whacked it with the hammer. It's all right. I don't know. Whatever next. Let's just drop that down there. I'm having all sorts of technical issues, but I think I've sorted it now. As I was saying, Dad, I'm all right. I've got my cup of tea. It's blue. It's blue. Right then, who's in? Now that we've sorted out my technical issues. I don't know. I pressed the button. I did a TED and I pressed the button, but never mind. Right. Oh, look, Shane. Right. So who's in? Who's first one in? Nat was first one in. Hello, Nat. Now then, Nat's in. Nat's on holiday. The kids are on holiday as well. So please, can we watch our P's and Q's in the chat? Because I know Connor and Paige like to have a little read and watching that. So can we just be aware that there may be small children watching and no bad language? Okay, thank you. I'll get that in. Disclaimer. It's not my fault, Nat, if these lot type things, but I've told them not to. So there we go. And then who was next in? Dad was in. Scaly Models, sorry. He's sat with I in the care home. Bless him. He's allowed a couple of days a week now, so he was quite happy chappy. Now he's been miserable. Scott, what's he been like? Oh, been like a bear with toothache. He has, but he's happier now. So that's all good news. Sarah Jane's in. So hello, Sarah Jane. She's eating mighty meaty pizza and garlic bread, and I'm sat here hungry now. So I don't mind. She might have finished it by now. Scott's in. The Junk Works. Now, go and check out Scott's YouTube channel, Junk Works. Dad will put a link in because he's good like that. Oh no, he can't because he's not on the computer. Scott, put a link in yourself. Don't be so lazy. And he's working amazing, amazing. Scott and Weathering. He's the man. He's the man for the weathering. And who else is in now? Shane's in. Afternoon, Shane. Thanks for nipping in, mate. Nice to see you. And 9 watching. So we've got 9 watching. Some people might be watching in the wings very quietly. And what? Yeah, sorry. I know, Dad. I forgot you're at the care home, mate. You're not on your computer. So Scott, put a link in yourself, mate. You're a mod now. You can do these things. You can do these things. Right. I'm just gonna have a swig of my tea in an appropriate coloured mug. Kevin Stevens. Good afternoon, Kevin. Thank you for nipping in. Right. What we're going to do today? We're going to look at ground cover, basically, and how we do things. So let's get chicken coop farm down. Let's take the chicken coop away. We don't need that for a bit. Oh, it's quite sticky. Oh, there you go. Jacqueline, hello. I'm still off from care by myself. I've tuned into here, but hello, Jacqueline. Nice to see you nipping in. Have a look, see what's going on. We're going to do some of this. This is Chicken Coop Farm. All I've done is I've put the basic flock down. Now, flock is flat ground cover, basically. It's predominantly made from sawdust or MDF powder. Now, you can make it yourself, and I have done in the past, but a word of warning, I do not recommend making your own flock. It's very unusual for me to say, buy it, don't make it. I'm a great believer, and Dad and Scott and that'll tell you, I will create anything, I'll craft anything if I can get away with it instead of buying it. But when it comes to MDF flock, MDF is, I guarantee, in about 20 years' time, you get the adverts now for asbestosis. If you've suffered and you're suffering from asbestosis, where you can sue like manufacturers and things like that, or the council that you work for, it's going to be the same thing in another 20 years' time with MDF powder, MDF sawdust. It's been proved now to be very carcinogenic. So please don't try and make it yourself. There are videos on YouTube on how to do it, and it's very simple to do. I've done it myself. But now we know the facts of it, just buy it. It's your health really worth a couple of quid? It's not. So buy your flock. Please don't try and make it out of MDF powder. That's my health and safety reps coming out there. It is very dangerous stuff. Please don't use it. Just buy it. So I've done that. I've covered it with flocking. It's generally made from, like I say, MDF. It can't be used. Oh, why are the seagulls going mad today? I don't know. It's very hot though. They'll probably complain it's too hot. Who's in? Lewis. Hello, Lewis. Who's snipped in? Lewis has bought one of my kits that I quite fancy buying next, which is the Saturn V rocket. So well done, mate. There's some very good videos on YouTube on how to light the bottom of it using not cotton wool, using wadding, which is material they use for duvets and things like that, and LED lighting on it. Was absolutely amazing. Looks like it's taking off. A lot of people use the cabinets from that famous Swedish place where you can buy the meatballs from. They've got a generic display cabinet that's got a light in it. A lot of people put it in that because it's actually quite a big kit, and then have all the smoke and the steam and the flames come out of the bottom all lit. It looks absolutely gorgeous when you do it, which is one of the things I'm going to do later on. Not at the moment, but later on. That's one of the grail kits I intend to get to do for myself. So anyway, I'm digressing again now. Flock. We've got the flock down. It comes in a multitude of colours. I actually used a forest floor flock because it's got all the different colours and that in it. Now, a lot of this is going to get covered anyway. You won't going to see it, but it's a model making thing. I know it's there. Right, so let's make a start on gather our equipment that we need. We need flock. Now, another good tip, when you're buying things like flocks and static grass, put them in a plastic tub and then just cut the label off and stick it on. This is Pico Scenics, good stuff. This is static grass. It's 4 millimeters long. It's autumn grass. So, and I've got a stack of it, and I just, I fancy that. I'll have some of that. I'll have some alpine. I'll have some meadow. It comes in lots of different colours, the same as static grass does. It's good stuff. Right, so we're going to start off with 2 millimeter, and this is 2 millimeter meadow. The label fell off earlier. And then we're going to need that one and that one. We may do that one and that one as well. So, how do we attach it? Well, we're going to use watered down PVA, but first we're going to use Little Secret concoction. All this is a 50-50 mix of isopropyl alcohol and water, distilled water. Okay. Whenever you're using water, I've said it before, I'll say it again, don't use water out your tap because it contains so much impurities, it's unreal. All right. Nip down to your local Tesco's or Morrison's or Sainsbury's or Asda's or any other shop that they will all sell bottles of distilled water that some people, not many people, but some people still use to put in steam irons, especially where I live down south, where it's very chalky water. So, and it's very cheap. It's like £1 for a huge bottle of stuff. Get yourself some distilled water whenever you're putting water on any sort of diorama and that, and it just stops that chance of contamination with stuff. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a little sprinkle. Now usually I'd use a spray bottle, but I'm just going to use a dropper bottle. What this will do is this will break any surface tension, and it will allow the next stage, which is going to be watered down PVA, to actually penetrate everything. I'll just put little bits down. We're not going to go mad, because obviously the Land Rover's going here. The chicken coop will be here. We're just going to... Ooh, didn't want that bit anyway. I'm just going to give it a bit of a sprinkle and a tinkle. Right, that'll do us. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get PVA glue watered down. And this is the same. This is a 50-50 mix of PVA glue and water. And then I'll get a largest brush. Now this has had a couple of days to firm up. The thing is, PVA glue is water based, and it works simply by the water evaporating away and leaving the sticky stuff behind. Once you add water to it, it's going to reactivate the PVA that's underneath. Okay, so you could quite happily spray this on with I've used in the past a spray bottle of like detergent that the wife's emptied. She's used it all. It's going to go in the bin. Oh, I've rinsed it out. I'll use that, and I'll mix PVA glue and water in it, and then spray it. The problem with that is, unless you clean out the entire nozzle afterwards, it's like a one-use thing if you forget to clean it properly. Which is fine. I mean, it was going in the bin anyway. You're not wasting anything really, have you? You've got a bit of extra use out of something more than anything. Now you see what I mean about the PVA reactivating the PVA that was already there. Okay, it's not a problem. It's going to get covered. It's all going to get covered anyway. We'll stick some on. We've got quite a busy day today. We've got a lot to do, a lot to get through. If we don't get through it all, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Right, so let's do that. It's pretty well soaking in. You see how it's soaking into the, instead of just laying on the top, it's actually soaking in. That's the IPA that's having that effect. So it's always a good trick to do. Spray down PVA and water, ice bubble alcohol and water. And it just breaks that surface tension and allows the PVA to fully penetrate. Might stick that in the water. Right, this is where I zap myself. This is a wonderful tool. It's called a static grass applicator. You can get mains powered ones, but I've always been terrified of them. This runs on 2 AA batteries. However, it will still give you a nasty shock. You see that? Ready? Get on camera. It'll give you a nasty belt, all right? And I felt that one. That was the first one. I felt that. Right, so what we need to do is we need to get some way of getting the static charge down onto where we're working. Now, I tend to use just an ordinary dressmaker's pin. Stick it over your head. No, thank you, Dad. I don't fancy. I haven't got that much hair. I don't think it has that much of a cause and effect if I stuck it on my head, to be fair. But I haven't given me a nasty belt around the lug holes. Right. So now these things come in. I've stuck a pin in there. All I'm going to do, you've got a crocodile clip, which is the earthing wire. And all I'm going to do is just clip it on there when it comes time to use it. I won't now because it'll probably pull it out. Now these things come with a hopper. You just unscrew it and put in your static grass of choice. Now we're going to start off with the lowest layer, which is 2 millimeters. Okay, so we'll get our 2 millimeter and we'll put a generous amount in that. I've got to get some more of that next week. Get some generous amount in the hopper. It's getting a bit warm in here again. I don't want. Alexa, what's the temperature in Portsmouth today?
At the moment, in Portsmouth, England, it's 23 degrees Celsius. Tonight, you can expect a low of 15 degrees.
Oh, great, a nice sweaty night with next to a shoe farts in bed. Wonderful. Thank you, Alexa. Wonderful. If you haven't got one of them, good fun. Good fun. Right, you ready? Hello, Jeff's in. Hello, Jeff. How's America today? Everything all right, mate? Well, while Jeff's going to type in, hopefully type in thing, I'm going to start with this. Right, so what we've done is we've clipped the clip onto our pin, turn it on, and the blue light should be on. And the blue light's not on. Hang on. Hang on. My batteries may have moved. Yeah. Sometimes when you put it down, it's just a battery connection, hopefully. Hopefully it's just a battery connection. Well, this is going to be a very short section of this video. Oh, there we go. It's working. Right, so pop the hopper back on. Whew, sort of broken it already. At least you had one. At least I got one zap off it for you. Right, so we'll turn it on, turn it upside down, get quite close, and then start. Check it all about. Well, actually, I should have put this on a bit of paper, a bit of newspaper. To be fair. Right then, and then unclip it, otherwise you will zap yourself. Now then, I'm going to see if I can get a bit of a close-up on this now. You see how that's actually sticking up now? That's only 2 millimeters as well. We're going to go through 4 and 6 millimeter in a bit. And I'm going to have to hoover this off in a minute. Right, the next thing you don't want to do, you don't want to leave that now. You want to carry on. Now, should we go 4 millimeter spring alpine grass, or should we go 4 millimeter autumn grass? I'm quite liking the darker bit of the autumn actually, so I think we'll give it a zap of the old autumn grass. Right, hang on. Where did I put that? Oh, there. I'm losing the plot. Right, so we'll empty our hopper of our original 2 millimeter. And then this is dangerous. I'm putting it near naked skin. I've got shorts on. It's that hot in here, and I've just laid that across naked skin. That's probably not the wisest of things to do on a sweaty leg. Putting a thing that works on static electric. Not kill. I mean, it's what? It's 2 AA batteries, so it's not going to kill you, but it will wake you up. It does give you quite a belt. You'd be surprised. Right, so we're going to go 4 millimeter autumn. Now, don't panic when you buy this stuff. It actually clumps. It's quite clumpy. It clumps together. It's easy to break apart, but your sieve will break it when you're agitating anyway. So don't panic if it comes in lumps. The longer the length as well, the more clumpy it tends to be. And you'll see in a minute when we go on to 6 mil. Right, so we've got off. Oh, fasten on your silly tub lid. That's it. That's it. Put it down there for a sec. Right. Now then, I always clip it. You don't have to clip it. You could actually just hold it, which is fine for these shop bought ones. But if you make them yourself, sometimes people don't, insulate the clip, and you will get a whack. So we'll just carry on with the clip anyway. Right. Turn it on. Turn it over. Oh, I clipped then. You hear that? I had a zap then. Zapped. Unfortunately, I didn't zap myself. Right, we don't go too heavy with that. But you'll be able to see now, especially, see the length of that now? How we've actually got standing up grass, whereas flock, you can't do that with flock, it just lays flat. This makes it look so much more realistic. So I'll bet you as well. I'll have to get the hoover out later. Right, so we've got our 6 millimeter down. Sorry, 4 millimeter. 4 millimeter down. Now, at some point, in the next few days, you'll be outside. I know, some of you will, some of you won't, but some of you will. Have a look at grass. Have a look at different types of grass, whether it's grass in like a public area, like a park, grass in people's front gardens, things like that. No grass looks the same. It's weird. And it's not green. Predominantly, grass is brown, not green, believe it or not. When you have a good look at it, it looks green when you look, but when you get close to it, there's a lot of brown in grass. There's a lot of live stuff, a lot of dead stuff. And what I would like to do, I like to give a bit of variation in the colour and the height and texture. So this is 6mm hayfield. And this is a really light browny colour. And we're not going to get heavy with this. We're just going to put this in little tiny patches. So we are a tiny bit. But you see what I mean about 6mm? It just forms easy. What does that remind you of? Star Trek fan, what would that remind you of? Tribbles. The episode Trouble with Tribbles. Oh, I'm an anorak. I'm turned into a Star Trek anorak. Right, so we'll put a bit in. We don't want a huge amount. Put that in the hopper, put the lid on. Hopper it back up again. Push that back in. Connect the clip. Right, so we've got to plan out where we want our longer grass. We wouldn't have it round here because that's obviously where the gate is to the pigsty, so it'd be quite flattened around there. Imagine down this edge here, between the chicken coopy Land Rover and the fence, I'd have a bit and a bit round. Little dotty area. So turn him on, flick him over. A bit round there. Now someone's going to go obviously on into the pigsty bit, but I'll hoover it off later. A word of warning with this stuff, okay, it's quite irritating. It's nylon fiber, so if you get it on naked skin, it's actually like itching powder. It won't do you any harm. It's just, oh, that's irritating. I don't think anybody, I don't know, can you have a allergic reaction to nylon fiber? Is anybody allergic to nylon? Apart from Bo Peep's sheep when she tied it to a pylon. 10,000 volts run up it and turn its fleece nylon. I don't know. Can you be? Right, let's scrape some of that up. Now that's a blend of 3 or 4 different ones. All right. Don't throw it away. Just stick it in your normal flock. I use, let's move. Oh, that's a little thing for later. Our money saving tip for later. I've just had to move it out of the way. This is my generic flock that I use on most things. Just stick it in there. It's all ground cover at the end of the day. Just give it a shape. There you go. All right. Let's have a swig of tea. Mini Tribbles. Jeff's got Tribbles, mini Tribbles. Yeah. Genius. It's clever stuff, Jeff. Kind of going for Mongo. Jeff just said genius. Really using static electricity to make flock stand up straight. Yeah, it is. You can't. It only works with actual flock, which is, like I said, it's nylon fiber. It's made from nylon fibers, so it accepts a static charge quite easily. Right, let's have my tapping off box, and then we'll give that a tap off. Now then, if I hold that up to the camera now, see the height we've achieved now. We've got 6mm grass standing up, and it just makes it look so realistic. We managed to get a couple of little paths in as well, so I'm quite pleased. I'm quite pleased with how that's turned out. It's so simple to use. Static grass is really simple to use. Just don't mess with it because it'll give you a zap. Same again. We'll collect our knockoffs from. Oh, I don't want that one. That's my forest floor. Just stick it in a generic. Dip them in there. give it a shape, blend it all together, and it's waste not, want not. Right, so that's flock and that's static grass. Now there is another type of stuff. When I find it, when I get it. This is called clump. This is very fine. This is actually made from foam, and it forms little tiny clump. It's clump foliage, they call it. Now this is the finest you can get. Okay, you can get it into quite big sizes, little chunks, and you can make quite reasonable little bushes out of this. It just clumps together. So what we'll do is, obviously, down the side of this hedge, around by these tree stumps, we can put a little bit of clump. Doing it again. I'm not putting things away. I'm trying to do about 10 things at once going through my head, and don't do that. Put that back in there. Right then. Pop that back on there. Now we'll have a play with this again later, I think. We'll make some popper tufts later. Right, so clump foliage. What we're going to do that. Literally, all we're going to do is we're going to get our PVA and a brush. In fact, that's a bit too watered down. You want it quite neat PVA for this job. So let's grab that. Let's grab some neat PVA. We'll grab a project I'm working on. We'll just use our thingy palette. We can go through this today as well. So it's a quick 5-minute thing. We can show you how to make quite realistic bushes using this stuff and some calico, hemp, cord, twine, stringy stuff, whatever you want to call it. Right, so we'll put some here. We've got a bit of a bowl patch there. And this is another good thing for this. If you get little bowl patches that you're not happy with, a little bit of clump foliage, boom, job done. Looks like a little tiny bush or a lumpy thing. So we'll put some down there. Some around the base of this tree stump. Lump him on. Put that over there for a second. No, all we want to do now, hang on. Put the brush in the water, otherwise in half an hour's time we'll have a lumpy brush that we'll just have to use as a stirring stick. Right, just get a pinch of it. Put it down and then tamp it down a little bit. Sprinkle it and tamp it. And it will automatically form a nice little bush. What we can do is we can dribble a tiny bit of IPA on it. Well, isopropyl alcohol and water mixture. Dribble a bit of that on it. Dribble a bit of that. Oh, I've got some very upset small child outside. We've got a kids playing park probably about 100 yards that way. It can get quite noisy. Sorry about that. An upset child. It's alright, it's not my grandchild. It's alright. Somebody else's. Ooh, I'll get rid of that later. We'll just drop a bit of PVA on it. And the IPA will pull it in. Blend it all together. Right, there we go. That's better. That's better. Now, there are some fantastic videos on YouTube. A very strange place, one you wouldn't think of looking for scenery. Well, you would actually, scenery and things like that. Is model railway people. There are some fantastic model railway scenery instructional videos that work really well for model making dioramas and wargaming. It transfers over quite well. So that's how we static grass. So we're going from a very flat looking piece of field to a very 3D looking bit of grass. And then we'll set our chicken coop back on it. And that's how we flock and static grass things. So I'm quite pleased with that. It's come out all right. I'll put the chickens on later. I've stuck some little chickens to put on and some chicks and a goose. I'll put that on later. So that's how we use it on a in situ, as it were. Now remember last week, was it the week before, I made these. Here's a couple of them. Reeds, tufts, using our paintbrush and hot glue gun. Now what we can do with this, I tried some experimental stuff on Tuesday. I was in with Phil on Primetime Show, and I had lots and lots of little shot glasses with different dyes, different washes and different materials, and I was trying to come up with a way of making flowers. Lewis is in chat. Lewis, I've still got 2 unopened boxes of pigeons. I've only used one of the 3, mate. I'm totally fine for pigeons, thank you. Before anybody goes and very kindly buys me pigeons, I've already got 2 boxes unopened. Thanks a lot, though. What are we watching now? So we'll look at chat quick before we go on to this bit. Let's have a look. See what we're talking about. Dad saying, zap myself in the head with it. Test it with your tongue. Yeah, thanks, Dad. And then Scott saying he might like that too much, Dad. No. Can you mix a different lens together and do it all at once? That's exactly what you do, Lewis. That is exactly what you do. You're starting off with your base and then you're working up with your heights and your colours. So yeah, that is definitely the way to do it, which is what we've just done there, mate. Is start off at 2mm, do your 4, do your 6, and then occasionally you can use 12. 12mm is great if you're doing something like the edge of a forest or something like that, going onto a meadow. Then yeah, that do your 4, your 6, and then 12 around the edge, and it does look absolutely stunning when you do that. It makes it look so realistic, and that's the idea. That's the whole point of it. What you're trying to do, you're creating something in miniature, but you're tricking your eye to make it look as realistic as you can. And that's just one way of doing it. Is gradiating the length of your grass, the height of your grass, and the colours. And that's how we do it. That's the secret. It's tricking. The whole point, the whole thing with model making is you're creating something in miniature, but you've got to trick the viewer's eye. It's not. You put a bit of thought into it, and you can do some amazing, wonderful things. Like this, what we're doing now is flowers. How would you make flowers? You can buy them. You don't get very many on. You buy them like you do with a Statigraph tuft. This is Pico Scenery ones. You can buy Statigraph tufts. I mean, these are 4 or 5 quid a pack. Just make your own. It's a lot cheaper. You can actually buy them as flowers, but they are really expensive, and you don't get many in a pack. So I thought, how would you make flowers? Now I couldn't today. I couldn't get. I've run out of 12mm static grass, and I couldn't get hold of any. So I'm going to do it using these paintbrush hairs that we made the other week. So what I'm going to do, we're going to trim these down. Now I tried seeing what would work as flowers, and it turns out the best thing to use is sand. Fine sand. This is the stuff, do you remember we got from the budgie bird sand that has sand and it has crushed shell in it, and we separate the 2 out. This stuff, and all you do is you add some IPA, stick some in a pot, add some IPA, add some water, and then add a tiny drop of the paint colour you want and a wash, an ink of the same colour. Stir it up and then leave it overnight. And the next day, tip it out onto some kitchen roll. Obviously tip the excess away. Tip the contents onto a piece of kitchen roll, spread it out, and leave it to dry. This is the yellow. I actually made some more of this yellow last night, and that's a tiny red, a bit of red that I made. So we're going to use these, and we're going to stick them on. We might as well stick them on chicken coop farm. So let's get a pair of scissors. Want to find some? There we go. Trim some of that. Trim that down into a. We don't want it that tall. We'll trim some down so we've got it to like this height. Okay. And to spread out a little bit. There we go. So let's get something to put it on. Let's get a bit of. That'll do. That'll do. We'll have a bit of grease-proof greasy paper. Use a bit of that. Now, so what we'll do is we'll tip our red out onto it in a little pile like that. It's like gold dust. Be careful with this. It's like gold dust. I've lost my tuff now. Oh, there it is. So we'll open up a little bit more. And then literally what we're going to do, we're going to get our PVA brush, dunk it in some PVA, and very lightly go over the top of it. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to dunk it in. And there we have a flower tuft. So we'll do a red one. And then we'll pull our little, like it's have you seen that gold thing on telly where they're digging for gold? What's it called? Dad, you liked it, didn't you? You like watching that. On Discovery Channel, some bloke and his crew. I don't know whether Alaska or something like that. Sarah Jane, you know, I worry about you. I really do. Pigeon tastes very nice, actually. Pigeon sarnies I used to take to school. I've never heard anybody even pigeon sarnie before. I've had pigeon before, and you're right. You know, being a butcher, I can't, you know, meat's meat. I do actually like pigeon. It is quite tasty. It's a bit rich for me. I'm not a gamey sort of person, to be fair. I actually prefer pork. Weird. My favourite dinner is stuffed belly pork and chips. I'm a simple person with simple taste. But yes, I know, Dad. Yes, Dad and Scott are both agreeing with us, and yes, he's very simple. But yeah, right. So let's put some yellow down, and we'll dunk this one in the yellow. Oh, quite like that's gone off on a shoot, off the tangent. It's a loose one. Right, so we'll put that down. Let that dry for a sec. Oh, stand up. That one's not going to stand up, is it? There we go. So just by using budgie sand, a bit of paint and a bit of wash, a little bit of IPA, leave it overnight, let it dry. Using the tufts we made earlier with a paintbrush, I think they're quite nice actually. Very happy with that. That'll do us. So we'll stick them on. I'll have to hoover this bench earlier afterwards. Later on. Give it a good. Right. Let's just grab hold of our farm and we'll stick. We'll stick one this side of the clump of that tree stump, just in the corner there. We can stick one. We'll stick the red one for now, and then later on, what I'll do is I'll cover that with our flock and a bit of static grass again, just to blend all that in, because we don't want the white from the blue, the hot blue one showing. We can blend that in later. Where's that in? There we go. It's got white, it's got the PVA glue in it, and it's obviously clear. We'll just blend that later, and all it is just a matter of just sprinkling a tiny bit of flock on there, and that'll do us. And that is how to create a bit of a meadow, really, and some flowers. Right then, what's my wife on about now? Oh, Tommy on a plane. John Wick 2. Oh. Well, thank you, Jeff. The weather on today's pigeon covered vehicle looks fantastic from this angle. With lighting that light. Does that look like a real car? Thank you, Jeff. That was it. It was fun. That was a really fun thing to do. You know, it's not everybody's cup of tea making a chicken coop out of a Land Rover, but if you've got a kit, I mean, Paul Stewart of Glued to the Spruce sent me that kit, donated that kit to me, because it's not the best kit in the world. It's an Italiano. It's a very, very old kit. It's from the original mold is from the 70s, and it's showing. But it was fun. It was fun to do. It's a nice build. It does fit together in the end. You have to fiddle with it, but then it's model making. You know, we can't all have Bandai plastic all the time and Games Workshop wonderful fitting stuff. So, and it's a challenge. It was good fun. It was fun, and it was something different. Think out of the box. Do something different. Now, the other thing was thinking out of the box. Now, a friend of ours, Skipper Ted threw down a bit of a challenge the other week on trees, and the challenge was to make a weeping willow. Now, I racked my brains for ages trying to think how I could possibly make something that would resemble a weeping willow. So I looked at pictures online, I did a bit of research and got into my head what a weeping willow actually looks like. You know, so I thought, well, I'm not going to make a huge one. So I made a little wire armature. Now at the moment, it's all quite sticking up quite flat. Now I want that because the next stage is going to be adding the leaves, the branches on the leaves. So, oh, my chat's not. Ooh, there we go. Shane saying it looks like he's covered in pigeon poo and seagull poo. That was actually, I spent half an afternoon, believe it or not, researching, looking at pictures online of pigeon poo, and then trying to paint it in scale was actually quite a good exercise. It was a good learning technique. So, like I said, just think out of the box. Have a look in your stash of your models and think, what can I do different to that? And just get your mind going, and you'll be surprised, you'll be amazed at what you can produce. Have a go yourself. Give it a go. Give it a go. Right then. So anyway, let's get back to this. This is the weeping willow tree. Now, it's the way I've done this. I've used this, which is jeweler's wire. It's very fine gauge. I want it soft and I want it quite flexible. I didn't want to make a huge thing because it's an experiment. At the end of the day, it's an experiment. It's a trial and error thing. So I've done that because now what I can do later on is I can position this any way I want. What I've done is I've used wire, like the wire, done a normal wire armature tree like we would do. And then I've painted this, I've coated this with PVA, and it's had 3 or 4 coats of PVA glue and then sprinkled with sand and then painted. It's still flexible with the PVA glue. It is quite a flexible material, so I can, once I've done my leaves, I can actually bend this still into the shape that I want my branches to cascade down to once I get the branch, the smaller branches and the leaves on. Now, how was I going to do it? I thought back to a video, a thing I built a long time ago. It was 2 stormtroopers. Well, a stormtrooper standing up, you know, the Bandai 1/6 kits. It cost me a fortune in import duty because I got stung by the import tax on them. I got two. I bought just a normal Trooper standing up, but I bought the speeder bike as well. Now, I did a big day of Endor Forest, and I painted. People are going to start moaning in the chat. There is a video of George Lucas online where the original Star Wars films were done on an extremely tight budget, and stormtroopers weren't meant to be white. Believe it or not, they were meant to be camouflage colours for wherever they were. But when they got the uniforms molded, they were just plastic molds, basically, of a black skin suit. Once they got them made, they all came and they were white, and they didn't have the budget to paint them. And that is why. And George Lucas is was on a live thing. It's on YouTube. It's archived on YouTube, explaining why stormtroopers are white, because they didn't have the money to paint the plastic parts for the uniforms when they turned up, and that's the only reason they're white. George Lucas envisions like the Endor scene of them being actually camouflaged, painted camouflaged. So I did that, and I had lots of. It was Endor. It was the forest. I had lots of wood. I had the storm. The one on the foot is walking. He's actually walking through a creek, and the speeder bike is above him, fastened to wood. And I've got vines hanging down. And I've used the same technique, only a tiny, a huge drop in scale. The original one, I used this stuff. This, I've used this stuff. I've used cotton. And I'm going to show you how you can make some fantastic. I'm going to use this for, obviously, for the willow tree. But this makes, if you're doing dioramas and you're doing anywhere where there is going to be vines or ivy, this is how you do it. So I'm going to have to make a load more, because actually a willow tree, you'd be surprised how dense the foliage is on a willow. So how are we going to do it? Well, I've already pre-cut some lengths of thread, just ordinary sewing thread. So let me get my squidgy box, my box of all things. I do lots of things in boxes for some reason. And we're going to get our box standard ground cover flock, the fine one. And I'm going to go mad. I'm just going to chuck a load in there like that. I'm going to put that to one side for a sec. I'm then going to get some greaseproof paper. That'll do. And some PVA glue. So that's watered down. So some PVA glue. What's my wife in chat? What's my wife saying in chat? K-pop Mummy Barker. That's she who farts in bed. That's my wife, Pip, bless her. What's going on in the chat? Sarah Jane learned to drive on the farm in the Land Rover. I can tell you a very funny story about driving and driving tests. Let's put this down for a minute. Go on, let's have a little story. Shall I tell you a little story? It's funny. It's funny. I'm mid-50s. And when I was having my driving lessons and the day of my driving test, my driving instructor phoned me up and he said, "We've got a bit of a problem. We're going to have to cancel your driving test." I said, "Why?" He said, "The car's broken down." And it was a Toyota Starlet, was what I learned to drive in. And my driving instructor had. And he said, "Unless you can find a car that we can use." So, being as my dad was at work by then, because it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and my test was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I phoned my uncle. Now, my uncle I lived in Morecambe. Well, Heysham, a little tiny village just outside Morecambe. It's all merged together now. There's no gap between the two anymore. He had a dairy farm in Cape Ray in Cumbria. So I phoned him. I said, "Uncle Peter, I've got a problem." I explained what. "I'll be down in a minute, lad. I'll be down there." So he came and picked me up. He just bought, and it was the first time they'd been introduced to the country, was the Toyota, the big 4x4 thing. I did my driving test in that. It was horrendous. It was horrendous. There was 3 buttons on the floor, differential locks. A red one, a yellow one, red, yellow, and blue. And if you press the red one, you went from 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive. Stomped on the yellow one, they're on the floor, you have to physically stomp on them. Stomp on the yellow one, it locked the left-hand wheels. So you could literally turn it on itself. The Land Cruiser, Toyota Land Cruiser. You could lock it on itself. Stomp on the other one, the blue one, and it locked the right-hand set of wheels, and you could turn it on itself that way. Well, we're driving down the road through a little place between Morecambe and Neasham, and past the ambulance station. And the driving instructor said, "When I tap the dashboard, I want you to do an emergency stop." Well, as he's tapped the dashboard, he stomped on the yellow button, and I'm doing 30 miles an hour, and he's hit the left differential lock. It spun around 3 times in the road, and then came to a rest between 2 parked cars at the side of the road. Well, there was farting noises from both of us, and he started as if he's going to start writing stuff. I said, "Hang on a minute." I said, "That was you." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Can you stomp on that yellow button again?" I said, "You just put the differential lock on and put us in a total spin, you numpty." Basically, I wasn't very happy with him. He said, "Right, in your own time, move off." And I sat there for about 15 seconds. And he said, "In your own time, move off." I said, "Yeah, as soon as this car goes past." And the car went past me and I pulled out. He said, "Right, take the next right, take the next left, take the next right." And we were outside the driving centre again. It only gone 20 minutes and I passed. it was just total carnage. So I did my hill start and all that though. So I did everything. He said, "What's that? What's that sign? What's that?" I said, "Right, you've passed." Yeah. I think it was more embarrassed than anything else that he stomped on this button. But it put the fear of God up me when the thing went round in circles twice. But it was perfectly parallel parked between these 2 parked cars, just wobbling a little bit as it came and resting against the edge of the curb. Oh. Right then, what was doing? Right, we was going to do this, weren't we? Let's have a look at the chat. Right. Oh, it's Tommy. Tommy's on Pip's kept up with me account. Oh, okay, I thought that was Pip. It's not. It's Tommy. What are we on about? Shane, usually until you touch on the underside results of loads of muck falling down on you to work on enjoy the yeah. Cars, wonderful things. Toyota Land Cruiser, yes, Scott was a beastie. Candy Graph from Muggle. 3 buttons for differential locks. I'm not a clue what to use them. Yeah, we had a thing called a stick as well. Gear stick on the floor chair. You'd love driving in Britain, mate. You'd love driving in Britain. I like to drive in a blue Mini Metro registration. You remember the registration? I remember my registration. My first car was BET 32L, and it was a Hillman Avenger. It was a great car. Loved it. All right then. It's Tommy's on Pip's account. Right. Anyway, let's do this. Right then. So what we're going to do? We're going to make some vines, or in this case, some branches for weeping willows. Bit of greaseproof paper. Bit of PVA glue. Where's my PVA glue? You could use this. This is tacky glue. It's very hard to find in the UK. Available all over the place in the States. Tacky glue is very hard to find in the UK. I have found it. It's now stocked by the Works. So if you've got a Works craft shop where you are, nip in and grab yourself a few bottles. This is good stuff. It's like extra thick PVA glue. It is good stuff. It's very tacky. Right, so let's whack some PVA on here. And I've picked up the one that's nearly empty because I'm a numpty. I've got about 4 bottles down there, all in different stages of full. Right, and a PVA brush that needs a bit of a clean off. Things are going to make messy. Sarah Jane, it's me. Things always get messy. I can make a mess in a clean room of an hospital. Believe me. Trust me on this. I can make a mess of anything. Right then. So we've got a bit of thread, a bit of sewing. What would you call it? Sewing thread? Yeah, sewing thread. Right then, we're going to dump it in. We're going to pull it through. Literally, just pull it through. Give it a bit of a coating. And then we're going to get our box with our flockings in. I'm going to lay it in it. And I'm going to give it a bit of a wobble and a bit of a shake and a bit of a move about. Right, so make sure it's well coated. Like that. And then we're just going to hang it over a dowel. And that's all there is to it. We're just going to hang it there. And then rinse and repeat. And after about an hour, we should have enough to make a very small willow tree. But if you're making a diorama that's got any form of cliff edge or cliff face, you could use this for vines, you could use it for ivy. I've just used standard flock, but if I'd used the coloured stuff that I've got down there as well, that would make really nice ivy actually. I'll connect with that instead of just basic green. But we want the basic green because we want to make it look like a willow tree, not a big lump of ivy. So we've just done two that quickly. So you get a bit that clumps up a little bit. That's fine. Once it all dries, it ends up looking like that. You get the odd little bit that's come together, but you can tease it with your fingers and it'll fall off. And then what we can do, let's not put that there for a sec. I'm not going to spend ages and ages making a bore to tears when we do that. I'll do that off camera later. So what all we're going to do is we're just going to drape them over the branches, and then once it's all done, we can curve it down and then trim it, and it will make, hopefully, tune in next week to see if it makes absolutely wonderful willows, weeping willow trees. Right, last quick one before we go. We'll use our static grass applicator again. We'll have a bit of fun with that, and we'll make some grass stuff. And I'll show Lewis how about the gradiating between them. We'll do it like that. We'll do it because I need some more anyway. I need some, so we'll make some. So all we're going to do is grease the paper. Grease with paper. Oh, no, I want a bit. A little bit thin now, actually. Never mind. Never mind. It'll do. It'll do. That'll do, donkey. Let's hang them up out of the way. Keep them away from the official correct colour for your mug for drinking out of. Don't listen to Dad. Dad's home. Dad's home. Put your feet up, Dad. Put the kettle on. I'm nearly done anyway. I'm nearly finished now. We're just going to do a little bit just to show Lewis about the gradiating between the different 2mm, 4mm, 6mm. And we'll make some tufts. Just why not? Why not? Right, so we want, I've tried using, I got last week, I got this also from the works. This is clear PVA. Who knew? Who knew you could get PVA glue in clear? PVA craft glue, clear PVA. It's washable. So we're gonna, I've tried that, I've given that a go. And I've made some longer, not tufts, I've made some strips. using the clear. Now it's taking a very long time to dry, so it's got a lot slower drying time than white PVA. And I shall report back on that next week as to how these. It's toughed it up all right though. How these are looking. They've stood up statically as they've worked. So, but we'll show them next week. Because I've got a plan next week. Next week, what we could do is, what's this? What is this one? This one is, hang on, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 for the PlayStation 2. I don't have a PlayStation 2 anymore, and this didn't work because it's so battered and scratched and beat up. I'm going to change this. I'm going to use this. And we're going to use 2 or 3 of the little techniques we've just been talking about over the last few weeks. And we'll turn that into something nice. We'll do a little river scene, because willows, water. You don't know about weeping willows. The amount of water they soak up is incredible, apparently. So we'll do a little tiny water effect, little stream effect. We'll have a weeping willow. We'll think of something in scale to put with it, and we'll try and make a nice little natural diorama. Why not? Why not? All from a bit of wire, some sand, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. All right? We'll do that. Why ever not? Why ever not? Right, so let's make some quick tufts. I want that. That's there, that's ready. I want some normal PVA because, you know what, let's try tacky glue. We'll experiment, we'll do some more experimental stuff. We'll try tacky glue and see how good that is for making grass tufts. So put some blobs, and a blob, and a blibbity blob. We'll just put some blobs. We'll keep them far enough apart so they don't run together. Just some blobs. Let's just make, I'll just do 6 for now, just because it's a. Now, what I tend to use, what I like to use underneath is, let's use that one. Your pins out. This is where I drop a pin on the floor and then forget I did it and stand on it. About 2 or 3 hours from now, hop around the man cave screaming in pain. I like to use a little bit of my foam underneath because it's not wide enough, is it? It will be. It will be. I'll make it work. Come here. No, I can't pick them up. Right, we'll just pin that down. If I can get hold of them. This is where it goes on the floor. No, I've got it. So we'll just pin it down. Stab. Stab. Right, static grass we'll start off with the 2mm, and then I think we'll try the 4mm, some alpine. I definitely need some more 2mm meadow next week when I go shopping. And there I say, another applicator. This is where I put it on naked bird leg again. I'm living dangerously, living dangerously. Put some of that in there. Close the opera. Make sure that's on camera. Connect it up. Like that. Turn it on. Ready. Do that. Back in there. I should have done this in my box, shouldn't I, really? Oh, it's wrong. That in there. Right, and then what we want to do if you want to go for the 4 mil. Where did I put that? I just had it in. There it is. I just had it. There we go. Nice help on metal. This has got little tiny bits of cork. It's just the way they do it. That's Pico Railway Systems for you. Take a bit of 4 mil. Is it still? Yep. Still working. Right, turn it on. That's better. Right then. Flip it. We don't want a circuit really. We don't want zapping. Although you lot, I'm sure there's a lot of you in today, and I'm sure the only reason there's lots of you in is to see me zap myself. I'm pretty certain that's why there's 13 of you watching. Not because it's interesting, you just want to see me zap myself. I know what you like, but it's okay. It's okay. Right, and then what we'll do is we use our 6 mil. Our hey, calm down, calm down. I went old dad then, I went old Scally then, didn't I? So let's put some of that in there. Loosen it up a little bit. We don't need a lot. Yeah, but this stuff a little bit goes a long way. There for now. Stick it down there where it's safe. Hopper back on. Connect it up. And away we go. That's how we don't need a lot of this yellow. We'll tip that off into our goodness. And there we have our toast. I don't know if you can see the height that that's created. See, with tufts as well, is when you buy them in the shop, they're totally regular circles. With this, you can make all sorts of natural curves and lumps. And then once that's dried, and you stick that down on miniatures or on a diorama, it's definitely more natural than the perfectly round ones you get from the shop bought. I just think it looks a lot better. But that's just me. So, we covered a lot today. Let me have a quick swig of my tea. Blimey, that was a lot we covered. I'll sit that there for now. So, I think that should just about do us for creating and crafting and making stuff. And then, so let's get on to the looking chat, and then we'll get on to the important stuff about the professionals that are actually on YouTube this week. Not some idiot that's just blagging it as he goes along. So, in the chat, thank you all. Anyway, thank you for the people that have turned up today. 13 watching, 11 thumbs up. Thank you very much from my own children there. Tommy, nipping in. Sarah Jane, Candygram, Jeff, thank you. Scott and Dad as always. Nat and Lewis, thank you very much. Shane, always a pleasure. Kevin Stevens, first time I've seen Kevin's name pop up. Thank you for nipping in, Kevin, if you're still there. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm on every Thursday at the moment. It's normally my day off, so I shall try and carry on to do my Thursday slot. If you liked it, pass the word. And then let's have a look. So, shall we have a look? Now, if you go on at the end of this video in about when I can get to it, it's normally about 2 hours time. If you look on last week's video, you will see there is a link to Models for Heroes. There's also a link to the Models for Hero calendar. And on that is a list of people that are broadcasting during the lockdown and beyond, for those of you to go and have a watch and learn things and look at other people and just generally interact on chat and that, you know what I mean? It's nice to, especially if you're on your own, it's nice to have somewhere where you can go and talk to like-minded people and have a laugh and a joke. And there's some fantastic shows on there. I noticed even one of my favorite YouTubers that I like to watch is Mel, the terrain shooter. He's on there. He does every night. I didn't realize he does 6 nights a week at 9 o'clock. It's not really, if you're into, you know, your Spitfires and your tanks and that, it's not. Mel's more into what I'm into, which is wargaming and tabletop gaming and scenery building. But he's amazing. Mel's work is fantastic. So Nip, have a look at that terrain shooter. He's on tonight at 9 o'clock. He's on every week. It's only Sunday evenings. He's not, and that's on the Models for Heroes calendar. I think a lot of us are mentioned on there as well. Fox is mentioned on there. His streams and things like that. And that's on there. Fox, Lewis's one's on there. Dad's one's on there. So that's national. If you look at that, to me, that's like the national YouTube TV channel. Locally, Thursday this evening, Christopher at 8 o'clock as always. Friday, Fox with his Fallout Friday. Now his Nashers are all up together again. He's back, hopefully streaming. Friday at 8 p.m. Hopefully Nat will be doing a Dexterous Crafter. See that? You got your own thing now, Nat. Look, Dexterous Crafter. You got to be Dexterous. Dexterous Crafter at 8 o'clock. Saturday, Fox at 3 o'clock with his Skyrim. And then Saturday evening, it's the Crash with James and Carl and Steve and Lewis. And then Sunday morning, it's James Skippy. Oh, James Skippy in there doing the Model Officer's Mess. And then he's running till 12:30. And then it's Colin and Dave with the Sunday brunch. Now, hopefully, Colin, will be back on Sunday. If not, I'm sure Dave and James will hijack it and there will be a show. I know Colin and Dave won't let anybody down. And that's at 12:30 till 2:30. 3 o'clock on Sunday is Fox with his normal show. And then at 6:15, it's Dad. Well, Scally Models there. The Scally himself will be on doing his booty. He'd be fluting the boot in the boot, probably. At 6:15. And then it's either Chris or Ted. I believe it's Chris this week at 8 p.m. on Sunday night. Monday, normally 3 o'clock, Lewis with his Lancaster build, hopefully. He'll be back off his holiday malarkings. He's obviously back now. So Lewis is probably going to do his Lancaster at 3 o'clock. And then Monday evening is E-Models at 9. And then Tuesday, it's Phil Primetime Modeling with 2 idiots that just join him. And I don't know. Me and Dad will be in there, hopefully be in there. And Elk Fill Out, well, we will be. Elk Fill Out with Primetime Modeling, and that's 8 o'clock on Tuesday. So that's your local What's On. The YouTube channels and nationally, please do go ahead. Have a nip into Models for Heroes. You know, like I always say, it's a fantastic charity. Nip in your model shop, pick up a couple, you know, some bits and pieces, a couple of sanders and some glue, and just post them that. Don't have to be a kit. You know, every little bit helps, and it's a fantastic group of people doing an amazing job. So that's Models for Heroes. Check out their listings on What's On nationally, national YouTube, as I call it. And hopefully I'll see you all next week. Oh, I'm knackered now. I might just go to my lie down. Anyway, thanks all for coming in. You know, I hope you learned something. I really did. I hope you learned something. Yeah, go and check out Kevin. Kevin Stevens is still there. Thank you, Kevin, for sticking around, mate. Thank you very much. When I do it was, I used to use Seafoam extra gold hair locked and scattered to make trays. Seafoam is wonderful stuff. I love Seafoam. The only thing I find with it, Kevin, after a bit, it does tend to dry out and gets very brittle. But for making a tree, seafoam is beautiful. Beautiful stuff. You can make some really, really nice things with that. So yeah, thank you, Jeff. Take care. All be safe. Yep. Like you always say, thanks for coming in. Wash your hands and keep the change, you filthy animals. There's a virus going around. Keep safe. All right. And I'll see you next week. Thanks for coming in. Where's this end broadcast button? Oh, there it is. Right. See ya.